Your publishing house is now, of course, widely seen as a preeminent trade publisher in the public interest, but I'm guessing it wasn't always like this.
There were a lot of skeptics out there when Andre first had the idea, but then there were also some wonderful early supporters. It was an impressive group of people, and they all saw the need for a not-for-profit publishing house.
Was it rough at the beginning? When did you know that everything was going to be okay?
Well, honestly, it took about 2 years. And there's a lovely picture from Publishers Weekly from that era that has two other people who were very important to the founding of the press, the editors David Sternbach and Dawn Davis. But when we really knew it was going to be okay was we had a luncheon to introduce the idea of the new press to the foundation funding community. And the luncheon was hosted by Colin Campbell of the Rockefeller Brothers Fund and Richard Leone of the 20th Century Fund. And at the end of the day, almost all of them decided that it was a cause worth supporting.
Do you feel that the world of book publishing has changed a lot over the years?
Here's what I think has changed. I think the delivery systems have changed and are changing dramatically right now. What I think hasn't changed a bit is the importance of long-form texts. That's what we do. Our acronym for them is LOFTIES. We say we publish lofty ideas, and we will provide those ideas to you in any format you want. The form doesn't matter, the content does. We're format agnostic.
Despite the technological changes and the vast changes in social media and all the ways people communicate, I think it's still the case in the world, and certainly in the United States, that ideas and movements are critically dependent upon books as the kind of principal delivery system.
We hear about it or on television or read about it in the newspapers. We have maybe a vague understanding of what's going on, but then you get these brilliant writers exploring these matters in depth. And then that helps you determine what direction your thinking is going to go in and how you feel, which direction you feel the society should be moving.
The New Press has remained committed to contributing to and expanding public discourse about issues and ideas that matter through an editorial focus on underrepresented ideas and voices, partnerships with dozens of other not-for-profits, and outreach to a wide audience of readers.
In the New Press, the partnerships with civil society organizations that are on the front lines of working for some of these issues is a real multiplier.
The New Press uses its books to leverage social change, helping to connect advocates concerned about current issues facing our society, from poverty and criminal justice to education, human rights, and national security. The new Jim Crow epitomizes the New Press's approach, published with support from foundations, edited with an eye toward reaching a broad audience, and promoted through traditional and non-traditional outreach. The book that has been called the Bible of a New Social Movement has appeared on bestseller lists across the country and is being used to inform activist and educational efforts in faith communities, reading groups, classrooms, and courtrooms nationwide.
It was my greatest hope and prayer in writing the book that it could be used as a tool for consciousness raising, for organizing, that it could be of support to advocates, that it would also help to inspire people who have been on the sidelines of this conversation. People who have been making these kinds of arguments and making these kinds of claims and have been dismissed, particularly people who are in prison and people who have family members who are behind bars or cycling in and out of prison. I was hoping it could be a tool and used in that way. And thankfully, the kind of support, editorial support I received from the New Press and their shared vision and mission made it possible.
I thought I had a platform, but I didn't know what a platform was until I published Let's Get Free with the New Press, because then the different ways that I could approach the audience expanded dramatically.
Part of the New Press thing is it builds bridges between academy and general public.
If we're really going to address these issues in an effective way, we need an informed public. And I don't think television is capable of doing the job, certainly not alone. Not even newspapers can do the job. You need to be able to engage these issues in depth, and that's where the New Press comes in.
What is essential for independent bookstores like City Lights is that independent presses that are not only do excellent material, but feel this activist tradition are part of what makes independent bookselling in City Lights particularly a thriving place.
There's a lot of political books that pass my desk and from a lot of different publishers, and it's often hard, since I don't read them all, to know the degree to which they've been vetted, the degree to which I can trust their sincerity and the authority of the authors, and it is a great relief to buy New Press where I know that every book will be published with absolute integrity and attention to detail.
Andre Schifrin and Diane Wachtel founded the New Press as a publishing house that would and could select books based on their contribution to society and intellectual bottom line rather than their likely profit. Set up as a nonprofit, the press is supported by foundations and individuals. This support, in conjunction with revenue from book sales, enabled the New Press to publish over 1,000 titles in its first 20 years on a range of issues vital to our democracy and to a more equitable world. Studs Terkel shared the New Press's enthusiasm for publishing books based on their merits rather than their commercial appeal. The New Press's first list featured Race, which established the press as a leading publisher of oral history and has remained in print ever since. In 1993, the U.S. Supreme Court sent a cease and desist letter to the New Press when the press published May It Please the Court, a book and tape set of landmark Supreme Court oral arguments, which ultimately led to a change in court policy on access to the recordings. In 1995, the New Press published Lies My Teacher Told Me. It blew the lid off the U.S. history textbooks industry. It's now sold more than 1 million copies in all editions, and more important, changed the way we think about and teach American history. It remains the cornerstone of the New Press's popular history program. Lisa Delpit first drew national attention to the cultural slippage between white teachers and students of color with other people's children in 1996. In 2012, the New Press published Delpit's Multiplication is for White People, which continued the press's role as a leading publisher in the progressive education field. When it was published in 1998, John Dower's Embracing Defeat won a Pulitzer Prize, a National Book Award, and the Bancroft Prize. Vijay Prashad's landmark work, The Darker Nations, on the history of the idea of a third world, was chosen as a 2008 Best Nonfiction Book by the Asian American Writers Workshop and is taught in universities across the country. The New Press has published over 10 books in the People's History series, edited by Howard Zinn and inspired by his groundbreaking work. Now, the New Press has published an authoritative biography of this towering figure by award-winning biographer Martin Duberman. Howard Zinn, A Life on the Left, is a major publishing event that brings to life one of the most inspiring figures of our time. The New Press values its freedom to take risks in publishing decisions. Without it, many of the press's books, including those that have since achieved commercial success, would not have been published.
Like public radio, the New Press is supported by a diverse range of revenue sources, and it is actually in that range of support that the New Press is able to retain its independence, because it's not just about having to sell books. It's about also answering to people who believe that the New Press should exist and needs to exist.
If you're a foundation, if you're an individual progressive donor, if you care about some social issue, if you care about affecting debate in society and you understand that books are central to carrying that debate, you will want to find yourself investing in the New Press.
There were a lot of books on the New Press list which didn't have big markets. They didn't sell very much, and that didn't mean they were unimportant. They had interesting, important arguments. They presented a take on American political life or a take on American culture. that was important to preserve and to circulate. And of course, behind all of these efforts was the absolute conviction on the part of the key people involved that book publishing, the publishing especially of serious political, intellectual, and cultural books, was absolutely crucial to American public life. Books are a kind of preserver and generator of arguments and ideas in a way that articles written in The Atlantic or The New Republic or The Nation are not. They have a shorter life. Books stay in the library. They get assigned to young people in college classes, and they're there. They're a heritage. They're an inspiration. They're a source of ideas. They're a source of dissident points of view. And for that reason, it was important to publish these books, even if they were not going to sell 10, 20, 100,000 copies. That, I think, was the conviction behind the new press.